In the quiet village of Arikete, two brothers stand at the crossroads of destiny. Chike, the dreamer, and Ikenna, the rebel, bound by blood but torn apart by fate. As the night sky watches over them, secrets of the past threaten to shatter their future. Will they rise together, or will the shadows of their choices consume them? Join us in a tale of courage, conflict, and unbreakable bonds. The journey begins now. The village of Arikete lay nestled between lush, rolling hills and sprawling farmlands, a picturesque setting often overshadowed by the complexities of human existence. In this serene yet troubled village, a small dilapidated house stood on the outskirts, a stark reminder of the once prosperous family it now sheltered. This was the home of Mama Adaku and her twin sons, Chike and Ikenna. Once the belle of Arikete, Mama Adaku had been admired for her beauty and intelligence. Her life, however, took a tragic turn with the sudden death of her husband. The news spread like wildfire, and the once bustling house was soon emptied of its joy and wealth. Her husband's family, driven by greed and indifference, seized all their belongings, leaving Mama Adaku and her sons with only this small house and the promise to pay for the boys' school fees. The loss of her husband and the betrayal by his family shattered Mama Adaku. The woman who once radiated vitality and grace was now a shadow of herself. Her once vibrant eyes, filled with dreams and hopes, were now clouded with a haze of sorrow and confusion. She wandered the small house aimlessly, her mind a labyrinth of grief and despair. The tasks that once came effortlessly to her became insurmountable challenges. Her fragile mental state made it difficult for her to provide the nurturing environment her sons desperately needed. Chike, the more resilient of the twins, took on the role of the caretaker. At a young age, he displayed an intelligence and determination that set him apart. He understood the gravity of their situation and felt a profound sense of duty towards his mother and their future. Every morning, he would rise before dawn, preparing a modest breakfast and ensuring Mama Adaku took her medicine. Despite the weight of his responsibilities, Chike never allowed himself to falter in his studies. His teachers at the village school recognized his potential, often remarking on his diligence and quick grasp of concepts. Ikenna, on the other hand, initially shared his brother's resolve. The twins were inseparable, bound by the shared burden of their family's downfall. However, as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the harsh reality of their situation began to wear on Ikenna. The constant whispers of the villagers, the pitying glances, and the overt scorn became too much for him to bear. Unlike Chike, who found solace in his studies and the hope of a better future, Ikenna became increasingly disillusioned. The once hopeful young boy began to rebel against the world that had dealt him such an unfair hand. He skipped school, choosing instead to roam the village streets aimlessly. He fell in with a group of boys who, like him, were seeking an escape from their own harsh realities. They spent their days engaging in petty mischief, a futile attempt to distract themselves from their pain. Ikenna's grades plummeted, and his once bright future became clouded with uncertainty. Despite their diverging paths, the bond between Chike and Ikenna remained. Chike, ever the optimist, never gave up on his brother. He would wait up late into the night for Ikenna to return, offering words of encouragement and sharing his dreams of a better life. But Ikenna, consumed by his anger and frustration, would often lash out, pushing Chike further away. Mama Adaku, in her moments of clarity, watched helplessly as her sons drifted apart. The once harmonious household was now fraught with tension and unspoken grief. She longed to comfort them, to guide them through their pain, but her own battles left her incapacitated. In the quiet moments, when the village slept and the only sounds were the rustling of the trees and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures, Chike would sit by the window, gazing at the stars. He would think of his father, of the life they once had, and of the promises he had made to himself. He vowed to rise above their circumstances, to restore their family's honor, and to provide a better life for his mother and brother. Thus, in the small house on the outskirts of Arikete, the seeds of resilience and rebellion were sown. Chike and Ikenna, bound by blood, but separated by their responses to hardship, embarked on journeys that would ultimately define their futures. One driven by hope and determination, the other by disillusionment and defiance. In the heart of Arikete, the village school stood as a beacon of hope for many children, a place where dreams could take flight. For Chike and Ikenna, it was supposed to be the foundation upon which their futures would be built. Yet, as the twins grew older, their paths began to diverge dramatically. Chike, driven by a deep-seated desire to rise above their difficult circumstances, threw himself into his studies. Every day, he arrived at school early, eager to absorb as much knowledge as he could. His thirst for learning did not go unnoticed by Mr. Okoro, the village schoolteacher. Mr. Okoro was a stern but fair man whose keen eyes recognized the spark of potential in Chike. He took the young boy under his wing, providing him with extra books and challenging him with complex problems that ignited Chike's intellectual curiosity. Chike, Mr. Okoro would often say, you have a bright mind. Use it well, and you can change your world. These words were a lifeline for Chike, a reminder that there was a way out of the shadows cast by his family's misfortune. Encouraged by his teacher's faith in him, Chike excelled, consistently earning top marks and gaining a reputation for his intelligence and diligence. His achievements brought a glimmer of pride to Mama Adaku's eyes, even on her worst days, providing her with a fleeting sense of peace amidst her turmoil. Ikenna, however, followed a different trajectory. Initially, he shared Chike's determination, but the weight of their situation began to wear him down. The betrayal of their father's family and the relentless whispers of the villagers gnawed at his spirit. Slowly, resentment took root in Ikenna's heart. School became a place of frustration rather than opportunity, and he started to distance himself from it. Skipping classes became a habit for Ikenna. He found solace in the company of other disillusioned youths, boys who loitered around the village, engaging in petty mischief. Mama Adaku, whose mental state continued to decline, was often helpless to intervene, her mind trapped in a cycle of confusion and despair. Her lucid moments were filled with worry and sorrow over Ikenna's choices, exacerbating her fragile condition. Chike tried to reach out to his brother, his heart aching to see Ikenna throw away his potential. Ikenna, we can still make something of ourselves. Please, come back to school. Let's do this together, he would plead. But Ikenna's resentment had built a wall between them. You don't understand, Chike. This isn't the life I want. I'm tired of trying and getting nowhere, he would snap back, his voice heavy with anger and frustration. As time passed, the divide between the twins widened. Chike continued to shine under Mr. Okoro's mentorship, his academic accolades piling up and his future looking increasingly promising. Ikenna, on the other hand, sank deeper into a life of aimlessness. The air in Arikete was thick with anticipation as the village gathered to witness the annual academic competition. Chike, a young man whose quiet demeanor belied a fierce intellect, stood among his peers, his heart steady despite the pressure. The questions ranged from history to mathematics, and as each one was posed, Chike's voice rang clear and confident, delivering answers with precision that left the audience in awe. Murmurs rippled through the room as he advanced through each round, his competitors falling away until he stood alone, the undisputed champion. The room erupted in thunderous applause, the villagers cheering for the boy they had once pitied. Chike had not only won the competition, he had captured their respect and admiration. As the applause subsided, one figure remained still, her eyes fixed on Chike with a knowing smile. Mrs. Adebayo, a local philanthropist whose generosity had already touched many lives, had been observing Chike for some time. His victory today only confirmed what she had long suspected. This young man was destined for greatness. After the competition, Mrs. Adebayo approached Chike, her presence commanding attention. Chike, she began, her voice warm and encouraging. You have done exceptionally well today. Your hard work and dedication are truly inspiring, and I believe that with the right support, you can achieve even more. Chike's eyes widened in disbelief, but the sincerity in Mrs. Adebayo's gaze assured him it was no dream. In that moment, he took the words as an encouragement, not knowing the opportunities that lie ahead of him. However, through all these triumphs, the once promising twin brother of Chike was now a shadow of his former self, his bright future dimmed by the choices he had made. Ikenna's transformation began subtly, with small acts of defiance. He had repeated class due to examination failure and low attendance. Yet he continued skipping school, choosing instead to loiter around the local hangouts, dingy spots where idle young men gathered to drink palm wine and swap exaggerated tales of bravado. The laughter and camaraderie in these places provided a temporary escape from the disappointment and anger that had begun to take root in his heart. A week after the competition, as Chike received his final grades at the village school, Mr. Okoro, his teacher and mentor, watched with pride. The grades were outstanding, as expected, but they also marked the end of the line. Without the funds to attend university, Chike's journey seemed to be at a standstill. His father's family had recently refused to support his education any further. They believed that the village school was sufficient, and that university was an unnecessary luxury for someone of his background. However, fate had other plans. One evening, as Chike sat by the dim light of a kerosene lamp, a letter arrived from Mrs. Adebayo. It was a scholarship into university, a prestigious institution that Chike had only dared to dream about. With trembling hands, he tore open the envelope and read the words that would change his life forever. Congratulations, you have been admitted. Chike's heart swelled with emotion. He had done it. Against all odds, he had secured a place at a university, a place where his potential could be fully realized. But as the initial excitement faded, a wave of concern washed over him. What would become of Ikenna? How would Mama Adaku cope without him? The weight of these questions bore down on him, tempering his joy with a sense of responsibility. The news of Chike's admission spread quickly through Arikete, and the village buzzed with excitement. They had watched him grow from a boy into a young man of promise, and now he was on the cusp of achieving something extraordinary. For them, Chike was not just a success story. He was a symbol of hope and possibility. As the day of his departure drew near, Chike's heart grew heavy with conflicting emotions. The night before he was to leave, he sought out Ikenna, hoping for one last conversation. But his brother, still distant and guarded, kept his walls up. Chike didn't push. Instead, he left a letter on Ikenna's bed, expressing his love and hope that one day they could walk the same path again. The morning of his departure was bittersweet. Chike stood at the entrance of their small home, his bags packed and ready, while Mama Adaku, her eyes misty with tears, clutched his hand as if afraid to let go. Ikenna stood a few paces behind, his expression unreadable, a storm of emotions hidden beneath his stoic facade. The twins exchanged a silent look, a mix of love, regret, and a glimmer of hope passing between them. Chike embraced his mother tightly, whispering promises to return as soon as he could. With a final nod to Ikenna, he turned and walked away, each step heavy with the weight of the future he was stepping into and the past he was leaving behind. As he made his way down the dusty road, the village of Arikete slowly fading behind him, Chike knew that this was not the end of his story. It was only the beginning, a journey that would take him far from home, but would eventually lead him back, stronger and more determined to make a difference, not just for himself, but for everyone who had been a part of his life. As time passed, Ikenna had finally decided to drop out of school. He secured a part-time job at the palm wine joint, and during this downward spiral, Ikenna met Ibere, a local girl with a gentle demeanor and a kind heart. She was drawn to Ikenna's charm and the glimmer of potential she saw beneath his troubled exterior. Ebery's parents, hard-working farmers who had always hoped for a better life for their daughter, were wary of Ikenna from the start. They had heard the whispers about his behavior, and they feared that their daughter's involvement with him would lead to heartache. Despite their misgivings, Ebery's relationship with Ikenna grew more serious. She believed she could help him find his way back, that her love and support would be enough to steer him away from the path of destruction he was on. But Ikenna was too far gone, his mind clouded by the resentment he harbored and the toxic influence of his new companions. The turning point came when Ebery discovered she was pregnant. The news hit the village like a storm, igniting gossip and scandal. Ebery's parents were devastated, their worst fears realized. They confronted Ikenna, demanding he take responsibility for his actions and marry their daughter. But Ikenna, caught between fear and denial, refused. He couldn't see beyond the immediate consequences of his actions, and the thought of being tied down by a child only fueled his desire to escape his reality. Ebery's parents, unable to bear the shame, distanced themselves from Ikenna. They focused instead on supporting their daughter, preparing for the arrival of their grandchild, and trying to shield her from the full force of the village's judgment. Ebery, heartbroken by Ikenna's rejection, withdrew into herself, her dreams of a happy future shattered. As Ikenna's reputation continued to plummet, he found himself increasingly isolated. The young men he had once considered friends abandoned him, unwilling to be associated with the scandal that surrounded him. The villagers too began to shun him, their disapproval evident in the cold stares and whispered conversations that followed him wherever he went. Yet, despite everything, Ikenna refused to acknowledge his role in his downfall. He blamed everyone but himself, his family, the villagers, even Ebery, for the situation he found himself in. The more he tried to escape, the deeper he sank into the mire of his own making. In the sprawling university campus, a world away from the small, quiet village of Arikete. For Chike, the transition had been overwhelming at first. The vast lecture halls, the state-of-the-art facilities, and the sheer diversity of the student body had both excited and intimidated him. But as the semesters rolled on, Chike found his footing, his determination and work ethic propelling him forward even in this challenging environment. Professor Adeyemi, a distinguished figure in the engineering department, was the first to notice Chike's potential. The professor's sharp eyes saw beyond the nervous young man from a small village. He saw the spark of brilliance and the unwavering determination that set Chike apart. Under his guidance, Chike's academic journey flourished. Professor Adeyemi took Chike under his wing, introducing him to advanced concepts, guiding him through complex projects, and helping him navigate the intricacies of academic life. Chike's days at university were long and grueling. Between attending lectures, working in the lab, and holding down part-time jobs to support himself and send money back home, he had little time for rest. Yet, he never complained. The memory of his mother's sacrifices and his brother Ikenna's struggles fueled his drive. He was determined not just to succeed, but to excel, knowing that his achievements could open doors for his family and community. Despite the heavy workload, Chike found time to build friendships that would last a lifetime. He connected with Emeka and Ifeoma, fellow students who shared his passion for learning and understood the weight of his responsibilities. Their support and camaraderie provided Chike with a sense of belonging, a stark contrast to the isolation he sometimes felt in the vastness of the university. Graduation day arrived sooner than Chike had anticipated. As he stood on the stage, accepting his degree with first-class honors, a wave of emotion washed over him. The journey had been far from easy, but the sense of accomplishment was profound. The applause of his peers and the pride in Professor Adeyemi's eyes were testaments to the hard work and perseverance that had brought him to this moment. After the ceremony, Chike received life-changing news. He had been offered direct employment with the very company where he had interned during his university days, a company renowned for its commitment to agricultural development. This opportunity was more than just a job. It was a chance to pursue his passion for transforming rural communities. Eager to begin, Chike accepted the offer without hesitation. For 2 years, Chike worked diligently at the company, learning the intricacies of sustainable agriculture and community development. His dedication did not go unnoticed, and when the company embarked on a new project aimed at establishing agriculture and education in rural villages, Chike was selected to lead a team. The project was close to his heart, but it also stirred something deep within him. Memories of Arikete, the village he had left behind in pursuit of his dreams. As the project plans unfolded, Chike realized that in chasing his ambitions, he had unintentionally distanced himself from the very place that had shaped him. The opportunity to head the team sent to Arikete felt like destiny. No one in the village knew of his impending return, and Chike decided to keep it that way, eager to surprise his family and community. The journey back to Arikete was filled with anticipation. As the familiar landscape of rolling hills and verdant fields came into view, Chike felt a deep sense of purpose. He was no longer the boy who had left, burdened by the weight of his family's troubles. He was returning as a man, armed with knowledge and experience, ready to give back to the community that had nurtured him. When Chike arrived in Arikete, the villagers were going about their daily routines, unaware of the surprise that awaited them. As he walked through the village, memories of his childhood flooded back. He finally reached his home, where Mama Adaku was sitting on the chair, her eyes scanning the horizon as if she knew something special was about to happen. When she saw him, her face lit up with a mixture of joy and disbelief. Chike rushed to her, enveloping her in a tight embrace, the weight of years apart melting away in that moment. Chike's return to Arikete was a breath of fresh air, revitalizing the village with hope and purpose. His homecoming marked the start of a transformative journey, fueled by the agricultural company's mission to empower rural communities. The once quiet village now buzzed with activity as Chike set his plans into motion. The first changes were seen in the fields. Chike, leveraging his experience and the company's resources, introduced modern farming techniques that boosted crop yields and sustainability. He organized training sessions for the villagers, empowering them to embrace new methods and become self-sufficient. The company also launched initiatives to create jobs, establishing community-owned farms and a small agro-processing plant. These ventures provided steady income, ensuring the profits stayed within the village. Education became a cornerstone of Chike's efforts. He expanded the village school's curriculum to include agricultural education and entrepreneurship, offering scholarships to promising students. Special programs were also created to help adults learn to read and write, giving them the tools to contribute more fully to the community's development. As these changes took root, Chike's twin brother, Ikenna, began to reflect on his own life. Watching Chike reshape the village made Ikenna question his past choices, especially his treatment of Ebere, the young woman he had irresponsibly impregnated and abandoned. Haunted by regret, Ikenna sought Ebere out, asking for forgiveness and promising to take responsibility for their child. Ebere, though hesitant, saw the change in Ikenna and allowed him back into her life, albeit with caution. Ikenna, now a man transformed by responsibility, threw himself into the village projects and his newfound role as a father. The villagers, once skeptical, began to respect him for his hard work and dedication. Chike observed his brother's transformation with quiet pride. Together, they were not just rebuilding Arikete, but creating a better future for their family and the entire community. As the village flourished, the bond between the brothers deepened, proving that the true measure of success lies in the lives touched and the love shared along the way. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the village of Arikete, Chike and Ikenna stood side by side, watching the fields that had once been a source of pain now thrive with promise. The village buzzed with evening activity, children's laughter, the hum of conversation, and the contented sighs of farmers returning home after a day's work. Chike glanced at his brother, a soft smile on his lips. Ikenna, who had once lost his way, was now a man transformed by responsibility and love. The weight of their shared journey, filled with hardships and triumphs, hung between them like an unspoken bond. I never imagined we'd be here, Ikenna murmured, his voice thick with emotion. Chike placed a hand on his brother's shoulder. We're here because we didn't give up, because we had each other. In the distance, Mama Adaku sat on the porch, her face peaceful, free from the lines of worry that once etched her features. She had watched her sons rise above their struggles, turning the pain of the past into a foundation for a brighter future. This is just the beginning, Chike said, his eyes on the horizon where the first stars began to twinkle. We've shown that change is possible, and we'll keep going, together. Ikenna nodded, his gaze steady, always together. As they stood there shoulder to shoulder, the night air filled with the promise of a new dawn. The past had shaped them, but it no longer defined them. In each other, they had found the strength to transform their lives and their village. And as the stars glittered above, the village of Arikete thrived under the legacy of Chike and Ikenna, brothers who had turned their trials into triumphs and their dreams into a lasting reality. As the stars fade over Arikete, the journey of Chike and Ikenna leaves us with a powerful reminder. Our choices shape our destiny. If their story moved you, don't let it end here. Like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more tales that dive deep into the heart of African tradition and adventure. Stay tuned for the next chapter. There's so much more to uncover.